This podcast is not affiliated with any Grand Lodge, and the particulars, antics, and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own. Should be dismissed immediately.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Studio 357 Masonic Podcast. I'm your host, Joe.
Producer Heath.
And just good old Jason.
Good old Jason. And our guest tonight is brother or worshipful brother?
Worshipful brother John Steele.
Worshipful brother John Steele from North Platte. What lodge are you in?
Platte Valley Lodge 32 in North Platte.
Excellent. We'll do a quick shout out to our show sponsors. We have Homeward Handyman Services. Everything you need.
Yeah.
From like our commercial says, from a faucet to a light remodel, he can do it all. He's a master mason from Lodge 288. Good guy, good work. Corporal Dagan Page Foundation and MasonicGearShop.com. Visit their website and go buy some of our swag and buy some of their stuff. A small portion of the proceeds come directly back to us. And I actually did plan a toast for tonight. Are you guys shocked?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. So this will air Monday. And Monday is the anniversary of when Corporal Dagan Page was taken from us. So last night we did a support walk. They're happening all across the nation. In all of the 13's hometowns, that people walked 1.3 miles for the fallen. So we did the same in Dagan's honor. We had 40, 50 people there.
Yeah,
It was pretty cool. So it's very, if you guys know us, it's near and dear to our heart. So I'd like everybody to raise a glass to Corporal Dagan Page and visit his website too and do Live Life the Day Way. That was a little tougher than I thought it was going to be. Okay. So what have we been up to? Brother John, what have you been up to the last couple weeks? Masonically.
Well, Masonically, we've been, as a Shriner, we've been kind of busy doing parades.
Yeah.
We did Maxwell, Nebraska. We've been Brady in Stapleton. And tomorrow we're going to do Hershey, Nebraska. That's a really nice parade that we do. And we just had a corn and hamburger feed at the lodge with all of the Masonic bodies at the lodge last Friday, I do believe it was. And that was a pretty decent turnout this year. Good. So that was a good thing. So we're keeping busy at the lodge. We are practicing for our proficiency, which is, I do believe, 80. I think this is going to be 83rd year proficiency on our degree work.
Excellent.
Nice.
So we're kind of excited about that. This year I am the chaplain of the lodge.
Okay.
And so we got that going on, and we got the guys in York Rite came down and installed 5 brothers in the York Rite here a month and a half ago. So we're keeping busy on a lot of different things.
Good deal. Good.
We are a pretty darn active lodge. So
it's good to hear.
Yeah.
It might as well be a world apart from Omaha to North Platte. You can't get farther apart in one state, I don't think. So maybe Alaska or Texas.
Well, we're actually 3 miles closer to Denver than we are to Omaha.
Brother Jason, what have you been up to?
Well, Masonically, obviously, as you know, as a group, we all just did our proficiency.
Yeah, we covered that on last episode.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, see, that shows how I'm sorry.
Well, we don't often film 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, well, and then we did our shrine comedy and barn dance the other day, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were
And,
slinging some drinks.
oh yeah, kept us busy. Other than that, not a whole lot.
Yeah, I think I've been on the same thing.
Yeah. We had our Cushion's meeting Wednesday, but
Oh, yeah,
That was-
I forgot that.
other than that, it's-
Yeah,
yeah.
he forgot it. He's the president.
Good
thing you were there, huh?
I was there, but I really wasn't. Right?
What have you been up to, kiddo?
About the same. Just with the Cushion's meeting, the comedy night, and that's about it.
Kind of the bad part with us all hanging out with each other is we all
Yeah.
we all have the same damn story.
Yeah, we had to do the same things.
All right, brother John, let's just jump into some questions here. What initially brought you to the fraternity?
Well, this is kind of a funny story. When I turned 18, when I not when I turned 18, I graduated high school when I was 19. I went to college for 1 year, basically dropped out of college after my first year, went to work. My grandfather gave me a petition. It was in my sock drawer for about a year and a half.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And he goes, when you're ready, let me know. And I was tired for it being in my sock drawer. I finally said, you know what? Nah, I don't know. Maybe it's time. So I filled it out. I wrote out the check. I gave it to my grandfather. I gave him the check, and he smiled, and he almost had a tear in his eyes. He gave it to grandma. And my grandma said, well, she gave me a hug and a kiss on the cheek, and I gave her the check. She goes, what's this? I said, the check for me to go through the Masons. She ripped up the check. She goes, no, this is on us. And that's how my journey started with the Masons. So that's my story about that. So
Perfect. So your grandfather was a Mason then?
yes, I'm a Mason, Shriner. My dad's a Mason and a Shriner. My grandfather, and then my grandmother's father was a Mason and a Shriner as well.
Wow.
So I'm the fourth generation.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're fourth generation.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a tradition that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I know we sent you some questions, but we're going to go a little bit out of order. So you're raised as a master mason, and then you went in the military soon afterwards?
About a year and a half afterwards, I started going into the chairs. I do believe I was senior steward, and I went into the Navy. I was in the Navy for 9 years, and I came back. I wasn't active for about 3 years. I dove into Masonry, full blown, and then I went back up through the chairs. And when I was in the military, my grandfather wanted me to be into York Rite. Well, I couldn't understand why he wanted me to be in York Rite. Well, after I took the York Rite degree, it was on a basis of me just going through it really fast on a military basis, because I was only home on leave a very short time.
Right.
But I realized he wanted me to take it because I was going to go overseas on deployment. Well, you can't get into an England lodge, a Scottish lodge, or an Ireland lodge without having the first degree in commandery into the York Rite.
Okay.
So you have to have that to get into a lodge overseas. And just in case I was going to be over there, I couldn't get into a lodge. So he wanted me to make sure I got into a lodge. So I had to take the commandery, the York Rite degrees, so I could get into a lodge over there.
See, the show's working. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it.
So anyways, I got put on, and my grandfather knighted me because he was past commander in the York Rite.
That's very cool.
So that was very cool. And when he did pass away, I was in the military, but I happened to have his sword, and I received his selfo, his hat,
Uh-huh.
and a couple of his other memorabilia that he has. But on his golden sword, it has his name on it, which happens to be my name, John Steele.
Perfect.
So it's beautiful, and very honored to have it, and it's very neat.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, when I got out of the military, I waited a few years. I got a divorce. I went, didn't really have anything else going on. My son was in high school, so I dove really into the Masons. Got into the chairs of the Blue Lodge, got into chairs of the York Rite, and then I got into the Shrine, and just kept busy. So
Excellent. So you were telling us a little bit at Grand Lodge last year that
yes,
you tried to visit the lodge at every when you were out on a float, you went to a lodge everywhere you could.
I tried when the opportunity came arise. Yes, I've been to lodges in Spain, Hong Kong, Australia, uh, Egypt, um, and then I've been to different lodges around the United States, Hawaii, uh, California. When I was stationed in San Diego, uh, Florida. I can't. I have to look at all the different lodges.
We need to step up our gift travel game.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. He was talking about the different lodges he went, and it prompted a question you may not have on there, but I was gonna ask if there's any, did you ever notice any major differences between the lodges in all the different countries?
Yes, I had the great opportunity to see the second degree being done in. Um, Actually, it was not in Australia. It was in. Well, I was in Australia, but I did not go to. I did not happen to go to a lodge there, but I went to Tasmania. Tasmania. If anybody doesn't know, it's a colony or a country underneath Australia. Australia still owns it, but it's a colony. Uh, it was Hobart, Tasmania, that I went to the lodge, and they were putting on a second degree. Their second degree was intertwined with our degree by the first, second, and third degrees. And my story with that is really funny because after they got done doing the degree, it was very interesting. It was very similar, but very different. If you understand what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And after it was all over with, it was very neat. Right underneath the lodge room, they had um, a banquet room, a lunch room, and they opened up the bar and they served ale. And the master of the lodge stood up and he said, "Brethren from America, we appreciate you all coming here and visiting us. And we really appreciate it, but we'd like to apologize tonight for the ale. Like, we don't drink at lodge because it's usually against policy and everything else. Why you apologize for ale?" Because, well, if this was a Master Mason's degree, we'd bring out the Jack Daniels. And they were dead serious.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny. The lodge in Hong Kong was down a very dark alley. It was a little tiny door that you had to go through, and there was no Masonic lights, no Masonic emblems, except a tiny square and a compass off to the side.
Huh.
That was it. You had to look really hard for it. And the British was, it was ran, the Masonic was ran by the British. So
Okay.
you had to look, and once you reach that door, you open the door and you go in, and then there was someone right out that door asking what you were doing there, and you say, "I'm here for the Masonic meeting. Come on in, brother."
Huh.
But they would guard that door because they didn't want anybody else to go through.
Thanks.
And
That's
once
interesting. Very cool.
and once you were past that door, you were fine. So, but yeah, they were being guarded big time because it was in Hong Kong. So that was kind of neat.
Very interesting.
So was there a large Masonic presence in your experience in the military?
Yeah, there was quite a bit. You kind of had to look. I wore my ring quite a bit, so I could have other people come up to me. You really weren't supposed to wear your ring, but I did.
Right.
But it was one of those things. Just like when I forget what port we were in, but a commander. I was just an enlisted, but a commander came up to me, and I was sitting at the bar, and he noticed my ring, and he just looked at me, and he goes, "Ah, nice spider you got." He came down, he bought me a drink, and me and him just started talking. And I called him commander right off the bat. He goes, "Oh, you know who I am?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do. I'm just an airman." And we started talking, and he goes, "Well, it's first names right now." But he goes, "By God, you see me in uniform." I said, "Oh, I will salute you, sir." But we were sitting there just like we were old friends and everything else. And then every time I saw him aboard ship, he just smiled at me, and it was just one of those things.
Yeah.
Him and I knew, and that was it. Um, Another thing too was the Filipinos aboard ship when I was on the Enterprise, the USS Enterprise, not the spaceship Enterprise, by the way. I just was
Glad
the
we cleared
USS
that up.
Enterprise. We had this warrant officer in S6, and I got in good contact with him. And basically, what if I needed something or anything else, I'd go down to his office. And I was a third class, E4. And my first class, my E6, she couldn't believe what I could get her. And she goes, "I don't want to ask any questions. I said, better off not to ask me a dang thing.
Yeah.
Keep quiet. Whatever you need, just leave it alone." And I just go down, have a cup of coffee. I said, "It's going to take me a couple hours to get that." She goes, "Whatever you need. I don't care." It wouldn't take me long at all. I'd be down there having a cup of coffee with them, shooting the bull, taking my time, and I'd be gone. And if she's watching this, sorry, Jan, that's just the way it is. Anyway, she can't do anything to me now. I'm out. Anyways,
Right.
but and when you're also out on leave, I always hung around with brothers when I was out, when we were in port and going to different countries. I always hung around with brothers. They've always sought me out, or I sought them out.
Yeah.
And I knew for a fact that we had each other's back no matter what. And that's just how it was. I knew I had him, and he knew he had me, no
Yep.
matter what. And we never got in trouble. We probably bent the rule a little bit, but we never, that's just how it was. And I never went out with anybody that wasn't a brother because I didn't want to trust anybody else. And that's just the way it was.
Yeah. So while you're in, how did you balance the demands of your military career with your Masonic career?
Um, you gotta, that's a double-edged sword, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
You know, you have to find a fine line, and you have to push that off to the side, basically, because you can't. The captain of the ship of the Kitty Hawk was my first ship that I was on. The Captain McGee was his name. He was a Mason, and we knew that, and I knew that, and I don't think he even knew that I knew that he was, or he knew. I don't think he knew I was, but
Yeah.
I knew, and that's just something you don't want to cross. You know that
Yeah.
he was, but that's just something that is you don't. One thing that you don't ever want to do is take masonry for granted or
Right.
use it for your advantage. It is there when you need, how can I say that? It is there for support.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think so. It's like you had to keep them
Sometimes
separate, but it was there to lean on if you needed it.
it is. And I'll tell you what, give you another example. When I was on the Kitty Hawk, I had a crusty old warrant officer come up to me and go, "Son, I'm going to give you two pamphlets. One is for the Constitution of the United States. The other one is the Bill of Rights. I don't want you to memorize it, but I want you to know what it is and everything else inside of it." So, okay. Well, when I was getting ready to get off the Kitty Hawk, he comes up to me. He gives me a grip. He goes, "Brother, I just want to let you know that I was watching you. You're going to do well. Hang in there," and everything else. And I'm like, "Oh, crap. Okay." So he kind of, I knew he was taking me underneath his wing, but didn't know why.
Yeah.
That was the reason why. You know things, but you're like, then, and then after a while, things kind of fit into a groove or fit into place. And you're like, it kind of works out, everything kind of falls in place.
Yeah. It does. Things have a weird way of happening that way.
And
Yeah.
like I said, you don't ask for it. It just kind of automatically happens.
Mm-hmm.
The more, and how I feel about everything is, the more you put into Masonic, you get 10 times fold. The
Yeah.
more you put into it, the more you get out of it tremendously.
Yep.
And it's just a feeling of wonderful warmth, and it's the words doesn't come to me very well. I can't express.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty cool.
Are you dying? It's okay. It's not dying.
Okay.
Well, he is just really slow.
Oh, I'm really slow. Oh, what are you guys talking about?
Me.
His insulin pump is beeping.
Oh,
It's really slow. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So
I'm sorry. I try to make lightning of everything. I try to joke as much as I can. So,
we do too.
Yep.
I mean, there's a tiny bit of concern, but it's kind of like that machine kind of cries wolf too.
At times, yeah.
well, be careful with that, brother. I'm diabetic, and I know what you're talking about. So you gotta, yeah,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yep, been diabetic 41 years. So, yep.
Ooh, I've only been about the
Only
last
40.
4 years. So,
All right, well, John, we're going to take a quick break.
okay.
We'll work out some details here in a couple minutes over the phone, but we'll be right back in a few minutes. I'll let you do your thing, producer.
At Homeward Handyman Services, we pride ourselves on being honest and giving every job the attention it deserves. Owned and operated by a master mason with 2 decades of expertise in home repair. We are bonded and insured, and we carry the highest standards when it comes to taking care of your home. Whether you need a faucet changed or a light remodel, we can take care of your home improvement needs. Call Michael at 402-915-0824 today for a free estimate.
Great. Okay. Let's jump back to you have 2 dogs.
You want me to tell about this? Okay.
Yeah.
No, we have 2 dogs. We have a 8.5-pound Chihuahua named Tarzan Ahmed. Can't make this up. I don't care where you're at. My wife's best friend, her name was Jane. She passed away of cancer when she was 48 years old. And her daughter had a litter of puppies, Chihuahuas, that was born on Jane's birthday.
Oh.
The runt of the litter, no one wanted, or she had to pick up this, and it was a runt of the litter, and he was the size of a Bic lighter.
Really?
She just said, well, yeah, it has to be Tarzan Jane.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he's like a little terrorist. Yeah. So anyway, he got nicknamed Tarzan. So it's Tarzan Ahmed. And then we have a 105-pound black lab cross collie cross pit bull mix.
Yeah.
Molly, and she is ferocious. She will think she's going to bite your head off, and she'll come up and pet me. She's just a lovable dog whatsoever. So, yeah, and Tarzan rules the roost.
Yep, it's the exact same way at our house, John. We have a 6.5-pound fox terrier that's 16 years old, and then we have a 94-pound American bulldog, which is a pit bull. She's got some German short hair and some boxer mixed in there, but it's the same way. The 6-pound dog is the queen.
Isn't that the way it goes?
Yeah, it's amazing. The big
and every time he barks, he jumps up about 1.5 feet.
Oh, you gotta love dogs that bounce when they bark.
Yeah, he's and he's not a pure Chihuahua. He's Pomeranian, and so he's a very pretty dog. He's not spoiled at all, of course.
Oh, I'm sure.
Lordy to be. Anyways, no, we got 2 wonderful dogs. So, yeah.
I appreciate that facial expression, John. I didn't think you could see sarcasm, but I just did.
No. Oh, I got a lot of sarcasm. Believe me, the wife sees it all the time.
Does it get you into trouble? You already answered it.
I met my wife about 12 years ago. We've been married for 3 years, and she showed me how to laugh and really enjoy life. And she is the one that showed me how to laugh. And I was taking life too seriously. And I was getting upset. I was not in the right temperament. If it wasn't for my beautiful, wonderful wife, she was the one that helped me laugh a lot more.
Yeah.
Enjoy life, lighten up, and do a lot of different things. So it was her that helped me do all this. So
It makes me very happy to hear that you
you
found
know, she is the love of my life.
excellent, as most of ours are. We probably don't tell them enough.
Well, she is. She says the darndest things, and she is. Tell you a quick story about her real fast. I know this is supposed to be about Masons and all that, but quick story real fast. On our second date, we were driving around in the country, and we're in her little Honda Civic. We were driving really slow. She slows down completely, rolls down my window. Couldn't figure out what the heck she was doing. All of a sudden, I look over to my right. Here comes this great big sprinkler head coming straight towards me. Sprays the car, sprays me, drenches me on the only thing I can think of. I turn to her and go, "Really?" Gets me. I start laughing. And she goes, "I just want to see what type of humor you have, because if this was going to tick you off, I couldn't be around you." So I started laughing. I'm like, "Okay, lady, it's on now." So
That's a great story.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, how do we follow that up? So tell us something about your experience in the military that was really significant to you. It doesn't have to be Masonic, but a military experience that really made an impact.
An impact.
There's probably a bunch, but just pick one, like something that changed your life.
Well, overall, I can tell you that the military really did change me and grew me up. Um, when I got into the military, I was 23 years old. And for me, I thought I was always grown up. And no, I wasn't even close. Uncle Sam gave me a backbone.
Yeah.
I was, and I saw parts of this world that CNN, ABC, CBS, and all the other networks don't even have a clue about. It's, I've, and having the adventures and seeing the things that I've seen can't express. There's no words to express what it means to do the things that I've done. Yeah. And having the honor and the privilege to do them is another thing as well.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Now I forgot what the question was.
Something in the military that impacted your life.
The impact, just the impact, just being where I was at over in the Persian Gulf, seeing the hustle and the bustle, just knowing that it's hazardous over there, knowing that anything could happen at any point in time, knowing that you had a dangerous job, mm-hmm. and to keep your head on the swivel, make sure that, it's, you see things happen right in front of you and you had no control over, you had to let it go. And it's knowing that you had a job to do and you just did it to the best of your ability and you done it.
Which that is a very good technique while you're in, but it does catch up with you, doesn't it? It does.
The transformation from being in the military and coming into civilian life, it is, I guess for me, it wasn't that difficult for me, per se, because I was on board ship. I wasn't on the ground forces where it was more difficult with the other guys on that aspect.
Right.
For me, I was on the board ship. Now, I did see some things that I'm not going to express here, but I had some problems and I had some difficulties getting through some of that,
Mhm.
but not as much as what you see with other people trying to deal with what they had to deal with.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess for me, I had my brothers to talk to. And uh, like when I was on my first, well, when I was on my first deployment on the Kitty Hawk, uh, I was just an airman, but there was a first class, an E6, Alan Ventola. He was a Masonic brother. He was the one that taught me how to play golf. Me and him went all over the place. Me and him went to Australia or Tasmania for that
Mm-hmm.
lodge, and just here I am, a younger man, and he was in his 30s. I was 20 some years old, and he was in his 30s. So he kind of helped me through a lot of different things, adjusting into military life. Because, here I am, I don't know, I'll say innocent kid,
No,
country,
we can tell lies on here. That's fine.
country boy in Nebraska coming into the military, doesn't know his head from his butt. Knew, when I got out of boot camp, and I was going to San Diego, California, to North Island, and I got pulled up to that ship, and I'm supposed to go into my first command in AIMD, and on board the USS Kitty Hawk, and the taxi drops me off at the gangway there, and I'm looking at this ship, and I'm like, there is no way on God's green earth I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And within a month, I knew the ship by heart, and it's one of those things that you adapt and overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the military teaches you, is you adapt and overcome anything.
Yep.
And as long as you put that mindset into it, you can do it.
So that you mentioned in times of not really hardship but difficult times in the military, you'd lean on your Masonic brethren, which leads us right into our next question: is kind of how did Freemasonry kind of help you along through your service?
Yeah. Even though you're not seeing it, just like that warrant officer that I did not know that was a Mason that helped me through this. He put me underneath his wing and helped me through different things. Uh, and then right before I left the ship of the Kitty Hawk, he told me, yeah, he's a Mason. And I'm like, all right, now that makes sense.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's different people out there, you may not know that they're Masons,
Mm-hmm.
but if they know you're a Mason, they will help you out and you're not expecting it. Or vice versa. If I know that you might need some help or whatever, and I know, it's just like the courtesy of helping one person out over another, like Masons does automatically anyways to anyone if they can. And that's the feeling of that happening is amazing.
Yeah, and we don't do it for the glory. We don't do it for a kudos. No thank yous. We just do it.
Well, and that's human kindness overall.
Yep. Yeah, I dig it.
And it doesn't matter. And really, being all over the world and not even speaking the same language on different aspects, I've met so many brethren that couldn't speak English. For example, I guess I'm kind of getting off track here,
You're
but
fine. You're fine.
there was a couple of merchants that came aboard ship, and I saw a plate that had a Masonic emblem on it, and I should have got that out, and I don't know where it's at. Anyways, it was stone, and it was on a plate of steel, and it was very beautiful, and it said $25 on it. And I went to pick it up because I wanted to buy it. I went to the guy and gave him $25, and he gave me $5 back. I'm like, well, it's 25. He goes, no, it's fine. And he gave me a handshake. And I'm like, really? Okay. He couldn't speak English. I couldn't speak, I think it was Egyptian. I'm not quite for sure. Anyways, he brought over this young lady. She was probably in her teens. So she was translating what me and him was saying in between.
Okay.
And it was very cool because I think she thought we both was on crack because she couldn't figure out what we were talking about. It was so funny. And we were talking about his lodge, we were talking about my lodge in Nebraska. And I was explaining to him where Nebraska was at. He wanted to know all about Nebraska. So I was telling him about cowboys and all this. He was very interested in that. And she's like, well, lodge? What? I don't understand lodge. So she was, and he was a past master of something in the lodge. And it wasn't a past master, but it was something else higher up, whatever. I'm not quite for sure, but me and him had a great conversation about something, and this young lady was completely oblivious of everything, and it was totally great. She had no idea about nothing, but me and him have a great conversation for about 15 minutes, and it was, those are the memories that you love to have.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have any questions for him?
I think we'll keep the one question, keep rolling.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite conspiracy about the fraternity?
That we are a secret society.
I love the close up.
We are not a secret society. We are a society with secrets, people.
Yeah.
Get it straight.
Yep.
You want to know about what we do? Join us.
Yeah.
Point blank. I don't know how to say it any more than that. And quit watching the Discovery Channel on that. Okay? They got it wrong.
So I just randomly found a podcast the other day because I was curious more about the relationship between Catholics and Freemasons, right? So I found this podcast and I'm listening to it, and by the 8-minute mark, I wanted to throw my damn phone out of the window of the truck. This guy was, and I'm not going to mention names or shows or anything, just it was on YouTube. But he was, by 8 minutes in, he had everything wrong. Oh, Freemasonry is a religion, and we don't believe in any gods, but believe God is all around us. And I mean, just
Wow.
and by the 12-minute mark, I just had to shut it off. Like I couldn't even listen to this garbage. But he was doing a seminar to college students, teaching the youth of America this garbage. Like, if you're going to teach somebody something, you're going to make damn sure you know what the hell you're talking about.
As I say, that doesn't, and I bet out of all those, he has tons of followers, I assume.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
And
Well,
spreading the nonsense around like water,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
well, a lot of this country was, a lot of the young men that founded this country were Masons.
Right.
That is a true fact.
Yeah.
Uh, if you look at our monies, especially behind the $2 bill, I don't know if you gentlemen know this, but there's a lot in the back of that $2 bill.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look, you got to know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
If you go to these small towns, even North Platte, Nebraska, but if you go to these small rinky-dink towns and you go downtown and you look on the old buildings, take a look at those emblems.
Yep.
Yeah. And Masonry has been around for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And we're going to be here for a very, very long time. And we have been strong. And it's, I think we are the largest fraternity in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We're the oldest fraternity in the world. And I think this is my own opinion, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong on this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think sometimes people get intimidated by it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is my opinion, and I don't know if, and I think they're just scared because they don't know enough about us, so they just throw in stuff that, well, this sounds good. We're going to say this. Well, don't say it if it's not true.
Well, and another thing this guy was doing is he was saying, "Oh, and they have to take an obligation, and they have to do this and they have to do that." I'm like, you would do the same thing to join anything, to join the military. I took more stuff that I had no idea what it was.
Right.
Not only paperwork, but the first round of shots that you get.
Right.
You have no idea what that shit is. They're just you pull your stuff, you walk in the hallway, and doctors come out of each door on both sides and start hitting you with air guns.
Right. Now, what branch were you in?
I was in the Marines,
Okay.
the Hollywood Marine.
Well, thank you very much for your service, sir.
Oh no, I just did my job.
No, I did too. So,
Thank you for thanking me.
well, cheers to you. Thanks. No, it was one of those things. I had, and like I said, I'm not going to say no names or anything else, but I've had a couple people come up to me and say, well, they were talking about the shrine. Oh, yeah, the shrine is such a great people. They do great for kids and everything else. And then they talk about Masons. You don't want anything to do with them. They conspiracy, the devil worshippers and everything else. And I'm like, and I'm in this conversation listening to these idiots, and I'm like, really? You like the shrine, but you don't like the Masons? So I open up my billfold and I show them my shrine card. Oh,
Yeah.
you're a Shriner. And then I show them my past master's card. They're like, I said, well, yeah. I said, you got to be a master Mason before you're a Shriner.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that funny how that one works?
Yeah.
No, you don't. I said, I guess I don't know what I'm talking about. This is a conspiracy, right? Give me back my cards. Put them back in my wallet. Okay, we're done talking here.
You just don't know enough because you're not at that level of masonry yet. You don't really know what's going on.
Apparently not.
Which really the only secrets that we carry are how much to charge for a raffle ticket.
Okay. Here we go. I'm back. Thank you. My phone was going off and I had to shut my caller on.
What, everybody in the world doesn't know you're on a podcast right now?
Oh,
My goodness.
wife does. She goes, well, good night. I'm like, I ain't going to be gone forever.
So another question I got for you that's not on here is any Mason anywhere in time. And I got to admit, I'm kind of using this question from our friends on the Third Degree podcast, but if you go back and talk to any Mason, whether it be living, past, historical, whatever, who would you want to go back to and talk with?
George Washington.
Yeah.
I think he'd be neat.
My personal one today is Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson. We took a trip. We drove to Florida a few years ago, and on the way down, we went to Nashville, and his plantation is there,
Sure.
and his mansion, I guess. And it was a great tour, great historical place. He's buried in the garden there, and his headstone says Master of Lodge, blah blah blah, and then under that is President of the United States.
Now that's funny that he is, master of the lodge first, and then
Yes.
president of the United States, not president of the United States, master of the lodge second.
Right.
Wow.
But then also on the house, Sammy, the house is public.
Mhm.
So we'll say there are Masonic symbols on the peaks of the house that nobody knows are Masonic. I mean, like the sun and the moon and their positioning of where they're at. The tour guide didn't even know they were Masonic. And I started asking him about him, and then I was actually able to tell the tour guide about his tour. But no, it was fascinating to see how much he reveled in being a Mason, above and held that higher than being the president of the United States.
Wow, that's
I would
pretty
really like to go
impressive.
back, and I'd like to get a sense of, who he really was as a person.
I would love that trip too.
Yeah.
I think that'd be
And
amazing.
it's probably the same way with many of the founding fathers,
Oh, right.
Yeah,
given the personal experience, I would like to go back and pick his brain about that.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Let's round robin that, Jason.
Jeez.
You think about that. How about you? All right, you think about it too.
Well, I would
Well,
say
since you said that, honestly, it would probably be the same because thinking of based off of going on that trip, kind of just, yeah, kind of the same thing.
I'm kind of with our guest though. George Washington
Yeah.
has always intrigued me.
Well, and that
Just because, being one of the founding fathers, obviously too, but just the stories about Masonry, about how things were back then, I think would be.
Well, and
would be
you
amazing.
wonder the founding fathers that fought in the Revolutionary War. In many cases, they were fighting against brethren,
right?
right? Because I mean, most of modern Freemasonry began in England. That's an assumption. I don't know that for sure. Don't send emails because I don't really care. But I mean, yeah, it would be almost like a civil war, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure we know somebody that knows a lot of history that'll tell us all about it.
Well,
Micah, when you watch this, give me a call.
Or even if Eric has looked into that, he's pretty good sometimes. Yeah.
Now, I do know in certain parts in the country, like in Tennessee, Kentucky, and West Virginia, that when the Confederates and when both sides, when they fought, and they knew that they were Masonic, at certain times of the month, they would stop fighting, get together, and communicate. And then they would go on their separate ways and then fight again. I do know that one for sure.
That would be interesting to hear some stories about.
They now I'm not quite sure where or when,
Yeah,
but I do know that one for a fact. I have heard stories about that one.
see, that's the part of Masonic history that if nobody's around to tell the story, or if nobody documented it,
Mhm.
then it's like the telephone game, right? And it just kind of gets lost.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's why I liked about, always thought about George Washington is because all his generals and colonels, he made darn sure they were all Freemasons
Yeah.
because he wanted to trust them.
Yep.
That was the only way he knew how to trust. And his spies, going back and forth, they were Freemasons.
Really?
Yep. And when I was stationed in Patuxent River, Maryland, I went by it, and I always wanted to stop at George Washington Lodge #1, and I never did make it. And I always told myself, whenever I got back there, and I will get back there one of these days, but I will go through that and enjoy it. I've seen the videos of going through it, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
But I want to go back through that. But yeah, that's the story that I was told about George Washington on that. So
that's pretty neat. Well, John, Zoom is getting ready to cut us off in the very near future.
okay.
Are you going to annual communications again this year?
Oh yes.
Okay,
Well,
perfect.
yeah, yeah, 2025, yes.
Yep, we will we'll be there. We'll have a booth set up just like last year, and we'll actually be our producer gets to go to run the camera, so we'll be doing some interviews and stuff over there.
That sounds fantastic.
With that, what do we have any upcoming events out there in North Platte you want to tell anybody about?
No, not really. Only thing is if any Masons wants to come out to North Platte for a lodge meeting, we are second Tuesday of every month. We start at 7:30, and we have a light supper before then that starts at 6:30. So if
Okay.
you want to come out, have a light lunch, a light supper before, there we go.
Perfect. We'd like to thank our show sponsors, also our Patreon supporters, which you can go to patreon.com and search for Studio 357. You can contribute $3, $5, or $7 a month. Any shout outs you guys want to give?
Just since it's becoming on a Monday, I'll give a shout out to the Corporal Dagan Page Foundation. You know, I probably
Absolutely.
stole yours, but
Nope, you're good. You're
yeah,
good.
you know, shout out to them.
Shout out to you guys for having me join you on the show all the time. So,
Yeah, my shout out's actually going to John. It's another friend that I've met through this show, and we actually spent quite a bit of our weekend together up there at Grand Lodge with you hanging out at the booth and telling stories, and I'm glad we were able to get this to work out.
It was very fun. It was very nice meeting you guys, seeing you guys again, and looking forward to seeing you guys in Grand Communications this coming up year. And thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor to being here with you guys tonight. I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
You're gonna make me blush, John.
You guys have a great evening.
All right, you too, brother. Thank you.
Goodbye, brother. Have a good
Bye.
day.